Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little not that tech savvy in the first place, so I need my daughter's help every now and then. Anyway, uh, a few things which I would like to share. One is my wife is a Telugu. She was born and brought up in Maharashtra, but otherwise she's actually a Telugu. My father-in-law was one Dr. Vishwas Ganla. He was the director of medical education and research in Maharashtra, and we fell in love and we got married. Now the unique part of the whole thing was that I was her student. I was the houseman and she was my lecturer. She had already finished her MD earlier. She was a gold medalist MD. I was the houseman. And, when you come across a gold medalist MD who's fallen in love with you, whatever little desire you have of studying further goes off. You are all the time looking at her beautiful face, which was still beautiful even now. And in the process, you are not studying. So in the process, I ended up failing MD first time and I just barely cleared it second time. So that's how it goes. But the point is that finally, both of us decided to go ahead with this task of trying to reunite mentally ill destitutes. Now, as someone said, that it's a very unusual thing that the first patient turned out to be from Andhra Pradesh. We were sitting in the restaurant. We had no intention whatsoever of doing anything. We had not thought of doing anything for the wandering mentally ill. And there was one gentleman, young boy, perhaps 25, 30 years old, who was sitting across the street. And he happened to pick up an empty coconut shell, put it into the gutter water beyond, and drank the entire gutter water at a single shot. Both of us got emotionally moved. We had just started our small nursing home. It was a 5-bedded nursing home. We had all the loans on the face of this earth on our heads. But that spontaneous emotional moving forward and asking him whether, would you come with us? Now the key is he agreed to come with us. Suppose he would not have agreed, well, I think Shraddha may have never happened, but he agreed. We took him to a nursing home. He improved. He turned out to be a BSc pass graduate. He could speak English. And on top of that, when we sent a letter to his address after he had improved, his father turned out to be a Zilla Parishad superintendent of Kadapa. And the father came rushing down by flight. So we thought that, look, here is an educated person with an educated father and who's wandering on the streets. And there is nobody doing this work. So that's how the whole thing started. And gradually it moved on and on and on. With God's grace, things moved on. As Swaminathan said, I did the Kailash Mansarovar trek also from the Indian side. I was an avid Himalayan trekker earlier until the work expanded so much that I just couldn't cope, and I gave up the trekking altogether. I have made a specific slide presentation instead of narrating how Shraddha evolved. I would much rather focus on the fact that we have with us Uday Kumar, who is all set to open up a rehab center for the wandering mentally ill. As I was just telling him in the earlier test session that if I had my way, I would have taken the next flight and come over and seen his institute and really started the ball moving. Shraddha at Karjat has got a 6.5 acre plot of land. Uday has apparently got 20 plus acres plot of land. I mean, huge place. Shraddha is right now sheltering 120 wandering mentally ill. My God, Uday can do 300, 400 at a shot. So I'm just waiting for him to open up. So I thought, let me put my heart and soul into the slide presentation insofar as the challenges which are there and how do we overcome, or how Shraddha overcome, or how all of us combined can overcome all these challenges. Not just me, not just Uday, but all the psychiatrists were involved even in a remote way with the wandering mentally ill. So like someone said, the NIMHANS person said that there are 197 million people who have a mental illness. 30 million people of them have serious mental disorders, which if left untreated could and will result in people walking out on the road. Now you see the budget with the health budget which was there in 65,000 crores. I mean, it's 40 crores is what was allotted to the NMHP, National Mental Health Program. But I don't believe that it requires a government to do good work. It requires good people, good souls. And that is where we all come in. I mean, that is where this conference comes in. That is where everything comes in. One doesn't look at the obstacles which one has got. One doesn't look at whether the government is supportive, non-supportive. One continues despite all these obstacles because you believe as a psychiatrist, I mean, it is my firm belief from the day I and my wife entered that if we don't understand their pain, who will? Do you expect the MLA to understand their pain? Do you expect a member of the parliament to understand the pain? Do you expect the home minister, the prime minister, the president to understand their pain? No, it is us. We are the qualified people. We are the professional people. We are the educated people. We are the people who have gone through years of psychiatric experience. If we don't empathize with the wandering mentally ill, nothing is going to happen. So the ball has to begin from us. The ball has to begin from us. Now, as someone said, there is 18 lakh people, 0.15% who are homeless, and studies have shown that 50 to 60% of them are mentally ill. So you have 10 lakh people who are homeless and mentally ill. What has Shraddha done? Shraddha has actually just picked up, treated, and reunited with their families a mere 9,000 wandering mentally ill destitutes. And I mean, I was so shocked when the award came my way. I felt I never deserved it. Whatever we have done, whatever Shraddha has done is paltry. It is insignificant. Look at the magnitude of the problem. Now, this is where all of us, Uday, all the NGOs in Andhra Pradesh, all the NGOs in different states of India have to come in. Is that without a massive mental health movement, we will see a lot of homeless and mentally ill destitutes. And it is our NGOs, your NGO, Shraddha, everyone combined who has to work for these destitutes. These are some of the photos of the wandering mentally ill as we see them in a horrible condition. I mean, somebody said that they're in a miserable condition. You know, I was listening to one lecture of Zarir Udwadia. He's a very famous pulmonologist, and he was talking about the amount of TB which is rampant. I understand that yes, TB is an illness and which it is rampant, but the difference is that a TB patient can on his own go to a government mental hospital. A wandering mentally ill person cannot on his own step into a government hospital. He doesn't know what is happening. That is the difference. So we have all these people who are wandering around, being hit, being banged up. This gentleman down was hit by somebody, therefore he got this wound. And you have them wandering continuously. You see the same person. I mean, I remember seeing one guy when I was going in a car to Surat, and finally I found him in Bombay. He had walked all the way from Surat till Bombay. And the story goes on and on and on. I remember after the Raymond Magsaysay Award, there was an article which was featured in a Gujarati publication called Chitralekha. It's a very, very, very popular publication in Gujarat. Now, you won't believe, that reporter knew me earlier. That reporter said that when he was a kid, when he was in school, there was a lady who was there next to his house who was mentally ill, and because they were all children, they used to get mortally scared of her. At the age of 50, when he took my interview now, after the Raymond Mag, he said that that lady was still there at the same spot. So 40 years of her life, that lady is there. She may have been menstruating. She may have been going for motions here and there. She may be passing urine here and there. Oh my God, just the thought of it made my hair stand, you know. And this is the neglect that is happening within society. Sometimes, occasionally, we do come across depressed people who are on the road. The person on the left sitting down is a depressed person. The guy on the right, of course, is a schizophrenic hallucinating. Now you see this lady. Somebody has put a helmet on her. Somebody has done this. Somebody has done that. Oh my God, it's horrible. Now, what does your NGO do? What does Uday's NGO do? One, it assists the mentally ill off the streets, takes them to shelter, care, treatment, standard psychiatric treatment, reunion with the family, awareness and counseling. So you have someone, a social worker who's approaching. Nobody would have touched this elderly gentleman. Our social worker approached, developed a rapport with him, put him into the ambulance. We started the treatment. Now you see here, somebody said, I think Ramakrishnan said that the whole effort and the whole credit goes to the social worker. This social worker is alone, not a single soul. No, aage piche daye baye koi nahi. He has been able to manage a conversation with the person. He has been able to develop a rapport. He has been able to put him in the ambulance, and he has started the treatment. So what we need are not just good psychiatrists. What we need are committed social workers. I was just talking to Ramkrishnan yesterday, and he said that he still doesn't have a North Indian social worker. I think we need to work on this. Perhaps we need to have social workers who can stay in Shraddha, learn the ropes within 2 months, 3 months, and transfer them to Shantivanam or in the Bangalore setup of Dr. Swaminathan. So that finally, if you have a North Indian social worker, why is it that you need Shraddha in the first place? Because of the language which our social workers speak very well. They are very this thing. So if you were to supplement your own NGOs with these kind of social workers, I think there would be a world of a difference. Now, same person in a family in Karnataka. Now you see the family looks from a very good background, reasonably decent. But even then, awareness is not there. As somebody pointed out, awareness is missing. Again, a social worker team approaching a mentally ill on the road, gradually developing rapport, not just pulling him across, gradually developing rapport and establishing contact and finally bringing him. Now, what are the hurdles that we have faced during pickups? In today's day of WhatsApp, all that you find is somebody who has seen a person on the road, he sends a WhatsApp on our the mobile number of our center, and he expects that we will come forward. It's very difficult to send the ambulance so fast and so suddenly. You don't have the time, you don't have the staff, you may not have an ambulance. And you may get a photograph right from Ludhiana. We have got photographs from Uttar Pradesh. We have got photographs from Jharkhand of people sitting on the roads. And emails asking us for help. It's very difficult to reach out. You have innumerable calls for mentally retarded. You have innumerable calls for elderly geriatric, which you know the moment you see the photo that this person is not going to come forward with any address whatsoever. And you have someone who's medically ill, huge wounds, and you know you're a psychiatrist and you can't just do everything. Occasionally, when the destitute becomes non-cooperative on the road, you don't have public support. The people stand away. They mock at you. They may make fun of you, whatever. And rescuing of destitute from difficult, risky spots. This is very common because right on you have the destitutes right in the middle of the highway. You have them at railway stations. You have them on the tracks. It's unbelievable. And if something goes wrong, the fault is the blame comes on you. But despite all that, knowing that if you leave him there, nobody's going to touch him. If that guilt hits you, you have won the battle. And if that guilt takes you forward, you have done the right thing. That's the way we look at it. You see this. This was a guy in Karjat who climbed up an electricity pole. Luckily, by that time, we had some standing in Karjat. The entire MSCB, the entire electricity of that area was shut down. My social worker, all these locals, social workers, they're very adept at climbing trees and poles and whatnot. He climbed up on that pole. He actually counseled him while he was on that pole and gradually brought him down. So you have to have that kind of commitment from the social workers, which comes with experience. After exposure to all the reunions and all the work. This is where I feel perhaps, Ramkrishnan and Swaminathan, you need to work on the social worker involvement and believe me, once they get involved, they are really out of this world. You have another guy, somehow he had gone up on top of the terrace. He had taken some stones with him and he was throwing stones from the top. Now, had our social workers not intervened, finally he would have been brought down and beaten up badly by the mob. But our social workers intervened. You can pick up multiple patients at the same time in an ambulance. This tends to give definitely some degree of media coverage. People ask you, why are you doing this? What are you doing? Somehow we have realized that though an ambulance may be a very expensive process in the long run, but the net worth of all these things is mind-blowing. This boy turned out to be a chartered accountant by profession after pickup. A chartered accountant by profession. I mean, you have lakhs of people appearing for a CA exam. Very few thousands pass it. Very few hundreds pass it, in fact. But this guy passed it and somehow he ended up with mental illness. That's the tragedy. You have a young mentally ill female rescued, same patient in a recovered state, and you see the joy which is visible in the photos itself, the joy of reunion in Chhattisgarh with her sister. It is this joy which takes you forward. You feel that what you have done is right. These are the good old days. This is my wife Again, in the earlier days, because she knew Telugu, she had gone to reunite. Earlier, I and my wife, we used to reunite ourselves. But now again in one particular instance, when she went to reunite and she stayed the night over in the village, by next day morning, 4 bullock carts had come with different patients from different areas, because word had spread that a psychiatrist has come into the area and mentally ill people were brought to be evaluated by her. Now you see, the point is not whether 4 patients got evaluated. The point is how much awareness was created in 4 different villages and so many villages around, that psychiatry is there, treatment is possible, one needs to go to the right person, let's go. This is a bipolar patient who was on the roads. Now, the hurdles which we face during treatment and care. Treatment is based on signs and symptoms. There's no objective data. You don't know how many years the person had schizophrenia, how many years the person had bipolar. There is no known history and there's no validity of the patient's history. A patient will tell you his father is expired, his mother is expired. There is not a single soul, no family member of his in the village. Time and again, we have realized that unless you actually go to the village and track down, you don't know whether he's telling you the truth or not. Right till the nth moment, this has happened. He may have multiple relatives, but somehow, in his schizophrenic process, for whatever reasons, he claims that he doesn't have relatives. There is no data available on the duration of illness, the family history of illness, such a strong thing which we come across in routine private practice, previous episode of illness, previous treatment. These are such basic standard guiding forces in our private practice. We take them for granted, but in this case, we don't have anything. There's no data available on drug abuse. There's no data available on tobacco addiction. So often we come across someone who may be smoking BDs on the road, and finally in our center he develops a drug withdrawal kind of thing. There's no data available on presence of concomitant medical, neurological disease or epilepsy. This is a huge thing. Often there are language issues in communication. Different dialects are impossible to comprehend. When I say impossible, they are literally impossible. Only the social workers are doing what they're doing. God bless them. I can't express in words how they have done all this, but somehow they do it. Hats off to them. Patient remains symptomatic and irrelevant for months. Ramakrishnan must have come across many cases like this. So you are flustered. You don't know what to do, whether to continue with the treatment or let go and put them into an institution like Mother Teresa's, where they keep on an indefinite basis, or to continue trying. In patients with negative symptoms or presence of catatonia, very difficult to establish rapport. Very, very, very difficult. You don't know the language. You don't understand him. I'll give you a simple example of how far language and how far community matters. We had transferred 7 patients from Institute of Mental Health in Chennai to Karjat for further reunion and rehabilitation. Now, I was just on my rounds and I saw one guy crying. I said, "Why are you crying?" He was from Maharashtra. I said, "Why are you crying? Kashasadi rarte? Why are you crying?" He said that, "Sir, अभी मैं क्या बताऊं? खाना तो वहां ठीक था, लेकिन 8 साल में मुझे चपाटी नसीब ही नहीं हुई. ये चपाटी देख करके मैं रो दिया." It is such simple words. You feel that yes, IMH is doing a great job, but finally we cannot cater to the different states, the different requirements of different human beings with their different fingerprints. That's the way I look at it. And somewhere down the line, I felt, all along, even in cases where we have not been able to reunite, if I have a Tamil patient and I'm just unable to reunite him, I would much rather leave him at Trichy with Dr. Ramakrishnan, knowing that at least he's in familiar surroundings, in familiar languages, in familiar environments. That makes a world of a difference. And there exists a chance, and it has actually happened, that perhaps after 1 or 2 years down the line, the person suddenly has a autochthonous moment and, a deja vu kind of thing, and he remembers his address and he tells it. And actually he's reunited. It has happened. Again, now reluctance or refusal to eat food. These are huge things. Reluctance or refusal to take oral medicine. So giving intramuscular, giving him IV, these are all difficulties which any good NGO has to face up. Gradually over a period of time with the experience, you tend to work on all these things. You have a tendency to violence because of the inherent schizophrenia or lack of comprehension as to what is going on. Very often we have seen that violence is because of a lack of comprehension. The Bihari lady looks upon the Maharashtrian social worker and the Maharashtrian staff as aliens, not just co-Indians, they look upon them as aliens. That itself creates a tendency for violence. So, you have to work on that. You have to have multiple social workers who are able to understand the dialect. Again, another instance I'm giving. I had gone to Institute of Mental Health myself. Dr. Sarda Menon had invited me. So I took a round, and because I look like a North Indian, suddenly the patients realized, oh my God, there's a North Indian who has come. And everybody started screaming, Sir, mujhe ghar jana hai, Sir, mujhe ghar jana hai, Sir, mujhe ghar chhod do, Sir, main Bihar ki hu, Sir, main Uttar Pradesh ki hu. Now you see that importance of language. That made me feel that no. In fact, let me share this with you. It was Dr. Sarda Menon who approached Shraddha and said that, can you help out in the reunion of patients? It was a great thing on her part. I mean, it started a ball rolling with multiple government organizations, with multiple NGOs, everything. And that one instance of me entering that ward and people screaming, कि सर मुझे घर लेके जाओ, सर मुझे घर लेके जाओ, प्लीज मुझे घर लेके जाओ, सर मुझे घर लेके जाओ. That thing remained with me for a long period of time, and I realized this has to be worked upon. That's how the involvement with the multiple government hospitals, and that's how the involvement with multiple NGOs came about. So issues with food preferences and tastes can make a lot of difference to the rapport development. Destitute has gone through extremes of heat, cold, rain, starvation, dehydration, everything before being rescued. Now, so when the body resistance is compromised, you realize that he has medical complications. He has COX, he has malaria, he has severe anemia. We have picked up people with a hemoglobin of 3 from the road, enteric fever. We have picked up a person who had not only falciparum malaria but also P. vivax combined. You have people with hypoproteinemia, body and scalp injuries, sexually transmitted diseases, wounds which are infested with maggots, fractures, impacted finger rings. Unbelievable, this thing. Now, as an NGO which is dealing with this, you have to have multitasking in all these things. And gradually, I mean, I'm a psychiatrist, but by now I know a good degree of how to handle blood pressure and how to handle diabetes and which antibiotic to give over years of experience. At Karjat especially, we don't have a good government hospital. We don't have private hospitals nearby. Just now, around 1 year back, one private hospital has come up. We don't have ICU emergency care. For any care, we have to shift till Panvel, which is at least 50 kilometers away. That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of manpower. That takes a lot of funds. Everything is there. We don't have a blood bank. You won't believe, for Karjat to get blood, we need to go to Alibag, which is 120 kilometers away, just to get a blood bottle. We don't have a good high-tech pathology lab. All these things make a lot of difference to the overall care that you are able to deliver. We don't have great X-ray facilities. I mean, the guy reports grossly wrong, and I have to send it to my brother who's a radiologist and get the correct report. We don't have an MRI. We have only recently got an MRI scan center in the area. You see this. These are multiple things. These are very common. Impacted finger rings, maggots which are there. These are maggots which are there. I mean, again, hats off to my staff. My RMO is just a homeopath, but boy, by now he knows this inside out. He does wonders. You come across a female destitute who's pregnant and severely psychotic. So medicine calibration is very difficult and choice of regimen is very difficult. You have a person who's dement, Alzheimer's disease. You have a person who has got a cardiovascular episode. You have a person who has got a CVA. Person suddenly throws a seizure inside your nursing home, inside your rehabilitation center. You have people who are borderline intellectual functioning. All these factors make the entire process of rehabilitation and reintegration very difficult. But the point here is, after some point of time, after 1 month of trying, somehow all of us get bonded to the patient. And then you feel that, look, it's not fair to just leave it to a Mother Teresa organization or to some other NGO which is keeping patients on an indefinite basis. So if we don't give it a full try, if our conscience is not clear as far as giving it a full try is concerned, that guilt remains with you. At least in our case, it remains with me. I mean, sometimes I give up and suddenly the RMO will say, sir, thoda aur din rakhte na, try karte hain, let's try. And suddenly the nurse will say, sir, thoda aur dekhe na, aur 10 din dekhte hain. Mujhe lagta hai shayad wo kuch bolne ki koshish kar rahi hai. That's how the things move forward. Again, you have multiple, all these patients had to be taken to the nearby hospital, treated, and this entire process had to be done. I mean, it had to be done. We have picked up We have picked up, you see this guy is from Bangladesh. We had a NSS camp in our Karjat, National Social Service Camp, wherein students of different colleges come. So when they come, I tend to give them a lecture to them, whatever. And I tell them, look here, when you come across somebody on the road, just don't leave him, just don't not look at him. Try and do something. Now, this student actually saw this guy on the road, picked him up, hired a tempo on his own money, and brought him to our center. At that time, I was not there. My RMO got so scared at looking at the wound. He said, Nani, sir, it is not possible. We cannot handle this case. That student went out of the center. He called me up on my mobile. He said, sir, आपने बोला था कि जब पेशेंट दिखे तो आप लेके आओ. अब जब मैं लाया तो आप ना बोल रहे हो. That hurt me very badly. So I told my RMO, see, it is not possible. At that time, WhatsApp had not yet come. So I said, let it go. I can't see the wound. Whatever be it, take this guy. We took him. My classmate, who's a plastic surgeon, Dr. Sanjay Vaidya, I knew him well. I showed him the wound. He did plastic surgery. We worked on it. I mean, money was spent, no doubt. Effort was there. Manpower was there. But finally, we were able to send him to Bangladesh. That not just gave us satisfaction, but the knowledge of that thing to that particular student who was involved made a difference to the student and his entire community. I mean, all that particular batch of students are regulars at our Independence Day function and our Republic Day function, everything. So you have not just changed one patient. You have not just altered the life of one patient. You have altered an entire community of students who bring patients now. I mean, from Khopoli, the Khopoli is nearby to Karjat. We had a bunch of NSS students who had come. They have brought patients on motorcycles. They have brought patients in cars. There is not a single roadside patient that you will see in Khopoli, primarily because the students have become aware and have got motivated. That makes a difference. So that is awareness from a different angle. That is not awareness from a media angle. That is awareness from a ground zero angle, wherein you make them understand that, look, people can improve. People can change. People can be reunited. And that's how things work. Again, like I said, I've got an affinity for Andhra Pradesh. All these patients belong to Andhra Pradesh, all of them. So what we decided that let's have an entire ambulance trip. All of them were taken in the ambulance. Our ambulance went to Andhra Pradesh, reunited them one by one, one by one, one by one. When an ambulance goes, no doubt that much more money is spent on a reunion trip than by going by train. But the amount of awareness which is created and the amount of help that you get in the difficult patients. I mean, the moment the local people see an ambulance, they are out to help you. And then speaking in Telugu with the patient, with this, and they guide you. No, this address is wrong, what you got. I think he belongs to that. The dialect that he's speaking, it doesn't belong to Hyderabad. It belongs somewhere else. It doesn't belong to Warangal. It belongs somewhere else. So that's how the ambulance may take 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you are able to reunite everybody and a whole latitude of awareness is created. Again, hurdles faced during reunion trips, language issues. India has many different states, different languages. Tribal languages are very difficult to follow. Very, very, very difficult. I mean, again, giving you another example, we had a patient who was with us for 1.5 years. 1.5 years. I'll come to that later on. So another patient from IMH, Chennai, was brought. Coincidentally, that patient and this patient became friendly. And that patient from IMH told me that, sir, this guy is from Punjab and he speaks a different dialect. It's not the classic Punjabi, but it is there. Trust me on this. And finally, we were able to reunite the patient. I've got a photo of that patient later on. So you have another hurdles which are facing reunion trips often. I mean, you have only 70% improvement. You have partial improvements. Another thing which we have come across is family migration. And in particular, in the Telugu community, there are a lot of Telugu people who are working in the construction of buildings. So they come with their whole families to work. All of them are employed. One guy suddenly develops schizophrenia, gets out of the place and disappears. Now the family, after completing that particular construction work, disappears and goes back either to their village or goes to some other site. This patient, when he becomes all right, he remembers that site where the work was originally going on when he fell sick. And he tells us that place, and in that place, not a single person knows that labor worker. Of all the people, why would people remember the labor workers at a particular construction site? Nobody does that. You have hurdles faced during reunion trips. You have people in Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram. Transport facilities are inadequate in rural area. One bus will leave one particular place only in the morning, and in the evening it will drop the person there and remain there. Next day morning, that same bus will restart. So you have to end up staying over there. That's part of the social worker activities, and they are doing a brilliant job of it. Traveling into interior forest areas, you have tribals who are living in forests. And moment this guy, the patient, improved patient says, now we have to climb the hill. So you feel perhaps the hill is only 2 kilometers. It turns out to be 10 kilometers. And the social worker and that patient walk into that place. You have traveling by boat. Often it has happened. You have walking prolonged distances into remote residential hamlets. Multiple villages having same names. India has got multiple, I mean, in today's day of Google, if you type one name of one village, it shows up in 4 different states. That's how bad it is. There's a district called Aurangabad in 2 states, Maharashtra and Bihar. This is from Gujarat. Now, again, there are a lot of relatives who say that we tried a lot to hunt for the patient. Agreed, they tried a lot. But what they were hunting for was this guy below. Within few months or within few weeks, the person has changed. And if the relative was to walk past this guy, they wouldn't recognize him on the road. That is the tragedy of the wandering mental ill. That is the absolute tragedy of the wandering mental ill. This is a depressed female. Very occasionally we do come across depressed people who are there. This is from Karnataka. Again, very good family, very good reunion. Basically, it is the joy within that reunions which has kept us going and kept us motivated. Again, hurdles faced during reunion trips. You have difficulties in train ticket booking. You have to stand 24 hours before to get a ticket in Tatkal. And our social workers and our team is doing that. Despite all the internet availability, etc., etc. Lack of cooperation from co-passengers. Suddenly, some of them are very cooperative. Sometimes they become very uncooperative. If they realize that the patient was earlier a mentally ill person, he was a destitute, this, that, whatever. Lack of safety and facilities in case of any emergency during travel. You don't know what will happen. And there's nobody to come forward. So we had, in 1 month back, we had a social worker, the patient, and another person, supporting staff. All 3 of them got COVID in Assam. They were admitted in a district hospital over there. So we were on tenterhooks all the time as to when will they come out of the COVID, when will the patient get reunited, what will happen. Now you don't have the infrastructure to deal with all this at your own level. You have to trust a God above and trust your own instincts and trust your own ground zero capabilities. You're not allowed earlier. I mean, now things are better, but you are not allowed to use a lodge or a hotel room because of the stigma associated with mental illness. Suddenly, the destitute or the accompanying social worker becomes medically unwell. So many times it has happened that the patient or the social worker has developed fever, diarrhea, sudden change of weather, sudden change of climate. The destitute throws a seizure. Or all along in your rehabilitations, he never had an APR and suddenly develops APR. Again, in your rehabilitation center, the person is very well protected. It's a sheltered environment. So he looks good. He looks fine. He talks relevantly. And moment you take him out in the train and suddenly there's re-emergence of psychotic symptoms. So over a period of time, our social workers have realized what is Trinicam Plus, what is Espazine Plus, what is Relicam Plus, what is Serinase, what is haloperidol, and have got the naive knowledge of giving it and doing whatever they can. What to give in time when the patient is vomiting, what to give when the patient has got a sudden EPR, all that they have learned hands down. You have a person with a physical handicap. So often we have come across a patient who is having both legs amputated in a train accident. Invariably, all these physically handicapped patients are plenty in missionaries of charity centers. There is no infrastructure at remote stations to actually take the patient. You have to actually carry him physically. Again, what has kept us going is the awareness which is there in the village. Now you see a police person is there. The patient is there. The entire village is there. So the village, whether you like it or not, invariably starts asking the social worker, what is schizophrenia, what is mental illness, what are the symptoms of mental illness. Look, in our village, we have got 3 or 4 people. Can you help out? Now, some of the social workers we have trained so that they are able to give the medicines. In today's day of WhatsApp, there is a small consultation possibly with me or somebody else. And baseline treatment is given. You give simple Trinicam Plus, 1 BD or 1 TDS, that works. You give risperidone, 1 BD, 1 TDS, that works. Now the point is it may not work wonderfully, but even if it works to 20, 30, 40% of the level, the intensity of the illness, the patient's relative feels that, my God, treatment is possible. And then he hunts out, and then he goes to a district hospital, takes out time, takes out effort, takes out money, and goes to a district hospital which has got a psychiatrist, and treatment begins. That is a different facet of awareness, which I believe is much more an important contribution of Shraddha than all the reunions combined. Because like someone said earlier, why are we missing out? Why are people coming on the roads? It's because of lack of awareness. It's not absence of love. It's not absence of care. It's not absence of compassion. It is the lack of awareness. So if you can do something to tackle this particular issue, it makes a difference. That is why, I mean, I can very easily, in these COVID times we are doing it, you can very easily call the relative from there, tell him, I'm giving you the money for the train ticket, come over to Karjat and take the patient. Fair enough. That's okay in COVID. But otherwise, the effort, the energy, and the money spent on actually reuniting the patient in his village is worth its weight in gold. Worth its weight in gold. There's a senior teacher of mine from KEM Hospital, Dr. Shubha Thatte. So when we were going through a little low phase, and everybody said that Shraddha is spending too much money and there's no need for so much staff, etc., etc. There's no need for trips. You can just call the relative over, hand him over the patient, etc. So she happened to come to Karjat. And I spoke to her. I said, Madam, I'm feeling this, and people are bogging me down. She went over the entire center. She went over the entire center in detail. And jate, she told me that, look, Bharat, every naya paisa that you're spending, every single rupee that you're spending is worth it. Don't dare reduce your expenditure. If at all, increase your expenditure. You're in the right direction. These are all golden words for me, because you sometimes get so bogged down, and visitors come and they say, oh my God, 20 social workers. What do you need 20 social workers for? Why are you having a team of 25? Now, he doesn't realize that Assam social worker is counted as one. Karnataka is counted as second. There are 25 states. You need those social workers. UP, I have got 3 social workers, and 3 social workers are inadequate. Bihar, I've got 3 social workers, and they are inadequate. It becomes so difficult, and you know that the patient has improved. You know that the patient wants to go home, but vice versa, he would much rather trust a UP social worker, a Bihar social worker, an Assami social worker, a Punjabi social worker to take him to his hometown. That's the simple truth. And this boy which you see, this social worker which you see, is somebody in Uttar Pradesh. Sorry, this is Madhya Pradesh. He knows the language. He knows the language of the Madhya Pradeshis, and he's able to converse with them. And he's able to convince the police, the sarpanch, the entire administration as to what is psychiatric illness and go about it. That makes a world of a difference. We can sense it, because nowadays we get, in today's day of WhatsApp, you get so many calls and so many photos which are sent of relatives who are mentally unwell and seeking help. Again, you see this. I mean, usually ladies don't come out so much in the open in tribal area, in village area, but even then they have come forward. Huge crowds gather. And again, this is a patient may give you his address on day 1. On day 1, he may tell you, I belong to Jalandhar, and give you the entire postal address. We don't reunite him. We don't reunite him until we have actually solved the problem which brought him on the roads. Unless we have treated the schizophrenia or the bipolar at least to 70%, we don't reunite him. The point is that if he goes back, he should go back in a much better form. And the entire villagers should gasp and come forward and realize, oh my God, this guy has changed. This guy is a much better person. This is in Jharkhand. I mean, this social worker of mine, both are social workers. This is from Bihar. This guy is from, he's from Chhattisgarh, sorry. But the reunion is in Jharkhand. Now, you see the amount of people which are there. Again, hurdles faced during reunion trips. Social worker team is stranded at remote places. Torrential rains, lack of transport facilities, you're stuck. In the good old days, we never had phone call contact. We would just leave it to God that, look, I hope the social worker team is doing good and they are safe and sound. Entire reunion schedules are cancelled because of torrential floods, train cancellations, local political uncertainty. Hurdles faced during reunion trips. Again, schizophrenia per se has got inherent fluctuations in intensity, causing the most cooperative, docile patient to wander off when the social worker has just gone to the toilet. Social worker has gone to the toilet and suddenly the patient disappears. It happens. It can happen with the best of patients. And you have non-acceptance by relatives. Reluctance ratio is 1 in 10. It happens when the absolute immediate relatives know more. And there's a distant uncle, distant aunt, and they have their own problems. So then it becomes difficult. Even at these times, I mean, we have seen that the administration, the sarpanch, the gram panchayat, the police people try and convince the uncles and the aunts to take the patient. And their logic is simple. They say that, look, a social worker team has come all the way from Maharashtra on their own account, on their own expenses, on their own efforts, and are reuniting this guy. Let's give some respect for that effort which they have put in. And things move. Lastly, of course, despite the best of efforts by the Shraddha team, relative is not traced out. That's leaves us miserable, but it happens. Female reunions, female reunions is a very difficult thing. Huge. Again, the crowds is huge. Surprisingly, you'll be surprised, but quite often the crowd is good. This is our social worker. This is our social worker. In this case, because the social worker is a single social worker female, we have sent another male social worker as a kind of a male support staff, so that she's not alone during the travel, etc. Otherwise, we try and send 2 social workers with the patients combined. That kind of gives a little bit of protection to the staff. This is, again, you see the number of females in villages coming forward, absorbing the knowledge that this is schizophrenia, this is mental illness, this can be treated. We have designed small handbills with basic symptoms of schizophrenia, basic treatment modalities in different languages. So when we enter Andhra Pradesh, we have on a single sheet of paper all the symptoms of schizophrenia and distribute them freely, right, left, and center. When you go to Punjab, we have it written down in Punjabi. We start distributing them. Awareness is a very important aspect of this whole effort of ours. You have hurdles which are faced specific to female destitutes, specific to female. When female destitute is picked up with a child and she herself is mentally unwell, it is our female social workers who have to do the surrogate mothering of the child till the mother recovers. We had one female who had a wound. She had developed peritonitis. She had 2 children on the road, 2 children, young. In fact, when I saw the photograph sent by a social worker in Mumbai, I said, "No, yeah, this looks like as if she's on the road and begging with her 2 children. Maybe a beggar's racket kind of thing." But he said, "No, sir, I've been to your institute very often. I guarantee you this is not a beggar. This is a 101% a mentally ill person." We picked her up. For the peritonitis, we had to get her treated in another hospital. She was shifted. We thought she would actually die. I mean, the treating surgeon kind of gave up hopes, but she survived. In the meantime, we sent our social worker to Latur, which is a very interior tribal area, tracked down the father and the mother. Apparently, there was one more child of hers. So we brought the father, mother, and the child to our center. So our staff was doing surrogate mothering of 3 children, looking after both the parents. Finally, the patient survived. Finally, we sent them back as a happy family. All these aspects have to be covered if the NGO wants to do true justice to the cause of the mentally ill. Again, female destitutes in tribal areas, they don't know anything beyond the name of their village. Ask them, where do you stay? They say only the village. They don't know the district. They don't know the home state. They cannot say whether they are from Bihar or Uttar Pradesh or Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh. And they don't know the name of the nearest railway station. They never traveled by train. That is the tragedy. So in this case, again, the social worker becomes the ultimate god. It is his deciphering of the dialect in which she is speaking, which makes him realize that this is a part of the Jharkhand dialect. I mean, it is in maybe a Maoist area of Jharkhand or a Maoist area of Chhattisgarh, and that's how things move. And gradually, because of innumerable experience, they are able to finally get to the truth. Families having reluctance, refusal to accept recovered female destitutes, because of social ostracization and the doubt that they have been sexually exploited. Again, in this case, it is a social worker's skills which make them convince the administration, the sarpanch, the police that, look, this has happened not because she has done it deliberately. It may have happened, but it has happened out of pure bad luck. At least give her a second chance. Now she's on her own feet. Take her back into the family. More often than not, the social workers are capable of doing this. If unmarried, the family is apprehensive that no one will marry the patient because of her history of being on the roads. And if married, again, this is a very peculiar Indian condition. The Sasural believes that it is the responsibility of the Mecca to look after her, and the Mecca believes that it is the responsibility of the Sasural to look after her. Sad state of affairs, but that is the truth. Again, in this case, the social worker's skills come into play. Sometimes the husband of the female destitute has already got remarried. Not only has he got remarried, he has got a couple of children from that second marriage also. Again, these are very peculiar Indian circumstances which, as social workers, as an NGO dealing with the cause, we have to take it in our stride, put our intelligence at that point of time on the ground, see what is the best possible scenario. One has to keep in mind that ultimately the female, it is in the psyche of the female that you are bonded to a home. It is in the psyche of a female that you are bonded to a family. Now you respect that psyche of the female and try and convince the entire villagers, entire this. It may take, on occasions it has taken a full day for the social worker to do all that counseling. The elders are called, multiple decisions are taken. You know how it happens in villages. They just don't have a 1 point decision maker. They have multiple points. Now, another issue which is specific to female destitutes. Female leaves their house with 2 children. Somewhere she loses 1 child. We treat her. We send her back to the family and they realize, oh my God, the child is no longer with her. So there is grief which sets in. There is depression which sets in. Female destitute is picked up with the child and we have no idea whether the child is of her husband or out of wedlock. We have no idea. I remember one of the earliest cases in Karjat was somebody who was a local contractor, one gentleman called Ramesh Munde, and he rang me up and he was traveling in his car and he found a lady with a child. So I said, look here, they might be a local construction worker. I mean, usually females move around with their children. He said, no, I guarantee you, I mean, I'm working in your place. I guarantee you this is a mentally ill lady. We brought her. That was the first instance in Karjat of having picked up a female with a child. We treated the mother. Mother became all right. She turned out to be from Punjab. Our hearts were palpitating whether the child belongs to her or not. We reunited her. Touch wood, the child was hers. But I mean, at that point of time, I just thought to myself that the law, if you look at it from a very legal point of view, I don't know what the law says about the child staying with the mother. I don't know what the law said about the child, whether it should be shifted to a different government institution or not. I mean, we were never equipped to deal with females with children. The emotionality of the movement took that construction worker forward. His call to me took me forward, and the rest was done by a God above. When we are proceeding on our emotions, we are following up on our emotions, the impact is different, and invariably the impact by the grace of God is good. Again, we don't know whether the child has been delivered out of wedlock or whatever, we don't know. Again, awareness in villages at the time of reunion. Awareness generated. I am focusing a lot on awareness because I believe that NGOs like Ramakrishnan and Uday, whatever he's contemplating, and Dr. Swaminathan, they have to focus on this concept and inculcate this habit within themselves and within their social workers. Awareness is created in the train itself. Because of the fact that they are wearing the Shraddha t-shirt, invariably people tend to ask, why are they going home? What are you doing? I mean, I remember one person who was traveling in the train, he gave a check of 5,000 rupees to the social worker, saying that you guys are doing a great job. Somebody else in the train, when you're traveling to UP, it's a 24-hour train journey, says that, look, my relative also has got this problem. I remember this problem. My daughter also had it. She was treated. During the stay at the lodge, awareness is generated. During the ambulance travel to the village, awareness is generated. During the interaction with neighborhood, village administration, police, the print and the social media coverage is phenomenal. Recently, 2 weeks back, we had one video on social media of a reunion, and that had 1 million views. It had crossed 1 million views. So 1 million people in Orissa had become aware that psychiatric illness is a treatable entity. And the fact that a person can be reunited and he can become that much all right was just amazing for them. Again, in this reunion, the police was involved in tracing out the relatives, the sarpanch was involved, everything. So finally, everything comes into play. In these situations, the stigma of associated with psychiatric illness and the empathy associated with psychiatric illness become inverse correlates in these interactions. This is very important. I mean, if supposing we would have called that Orissa patient's relatives to Karjat and just sent her home, it was a female. I don't think so we would have got 1 million hits. We would not have got even 100 hits. But the point is, you are doing that, you're doing it within that environment, within that setup. Now, this is where we carry posters, we have some small leaflets, we have and wherever a crowd is gathered, we tend to address that crowd and tell them that this is what happens. These are beautiful, which we have in a catalog. These are obtained from Vadodara Mental Hospital. I mean, my social worker found them on the walls and we liked it and we took it down and we started using it on the various lay population that we come across. So it's a very simple thing, you know. Basically, it's not rocket science to convince a person that what exactly is schizophrenia. At least they are able to understand that what is mental illness. You show it to them 3 or 4, give multiple explanations, and gradually over a period of time, the villagers and everybody around understands. And of course, person having suicide is always a known thing in schizophrenia as well as in depression. Now you see this. This is a female social worker. This is a male attending support staff. In the village, after the reunion, suddenly the villagers requested her for an impromptu psychiatric checkup. This is the patient. This is the relative. And these are all the bystanders. Now, she is not a qualified psychiatrist. She doesn't know the correct medicine, but despite that, with whatever limited knowledge is possible, with whatever limited knowledge of medicine she has, she is able to write something. And in today's day of video chatting and WhatsApp calls and whatever, she's able to ask my advice on basic, and the ball starts moving. But look at the awareness which is created. Look at the awareness which is created. You know, I mean, these are multiple posters that we often take with us, and you know, kind of have a impromptu psychiatric camp. And this is in Maharashtra with a female social worker. So you have broken the voodoo of a female being capable of delivering the goods. You have male patients who are there. I mean, it's brilliant. In the ultimate analysis, I would say that Uday's NGO is not merely reuniting a separated loved one with his or her family. It is your NGO which is debunking, delinking, dissociating the stigma that surrounds mental illness at the individual level, at the family level, at the social level. If one has these objectives in mind, I think a lot can be done for society by all of us put together. Again, perhaps because of the fact that Uday's NGO will also be in a farm setting, and you know, in this thing, somehow drug prescription tends to go down by 30 to 40%. Within 1.5 to 2 months, patient is better, and the pressure is on the social worker to reunite. Some people have asked us that why don't you have occupational treatment for these, therapy for these guys. The point is, the moment the patient becomes all right, the patient has only one single point agenda. साहब मेरे को घर भेज दो. अभी इतना साल हो गया, मैं रास्ते पे है, मेरे को मालूम नहीं कि मेरा बीवी कैसा होगा, मेरा बच्चा कैसा होगा, मेरा 2 छोटे-छोटे बच्चे हैं, मेरे को घर भेज दो. You have to respond to that emotional request of his. You have to. Nothing else matters. Occupation doesn't matter. Nothing matters. This is a principal from West Bengal. In the good old days when I didn't have Karjat, a principal from a school is on the roads. This is the patient which I was telling you about. You know, he was from Punjab, and the another patient from Institute of Mental Health Chennai came and said that, look, this guy is from Punjab. Now you see this. For 1.5 years he was with us. When we reunited him, this is the patient at the time of rescue. This is the patient at the time of reunion. Again, at the time of recovery. Now, these relatives actually gave us a donation of 1,000 rupees after the reunion. Now you feel miserable. You feel miserable that 1.5 years the person was in your NGO and the family members must have been pining for him purely because you didn't have a social worker who could understand the dialect, who could understand the language, who could actually communicate with the guy. I mean, it makes you hang your head in shame. I mean, at least it did that for all of us in Shraddha. That, what have you done here? I mean, you have picked up somebody and you can't reunite the guy because you don't know the language. Whose fault is it? It's not the patient's fault. It's your fault. It's a weakness within you, which has to be rectified. So the number of staff becomes 20, 25. And, I mean, like in Maharashtra, we try and see to it that one social worker is from Western Maharashtra, another social worker is from Eastern Maharashtra, where the language is different, the dialect is different, everything is different. From Kolhapur, which is near Goa, the dialect is totally different. But you need these guys. You need these guys. Unless you have these guys, you can't do justice to the actual cause which you represent, which is that you want to see the wandering mentally ill back. Now, 1.5 years, this gentleman is daily on my rounds. I mean, it had come to a point wherein I feel I would tell my staff, "अरे यार, इसको दूर रख यार, वो ही पूछेगा, मेरे को घर जाने का, अपने को तो मालूम नहीं किधर है उसका घर." This is, of course, from Shantivanam. In the good old days in 2012, we had picked up all these are destitutes who are sitting down, and our social workers had gone and we had started the interaction with Dr. Ramkrishnan. We took them to our center. As he has mentioned that they were from different areas, So we have been doing that with multiple NGOs now. But this was in 2012, and I had also put in a visit to Shantivanam. This lady that you see, this lady is the mother of this gentleman. This gentleman is an orthopedic surgeon in Surat. So the mother of an orthopedic surgeon in Surat was picked up by us from Chennai Mental Hospital. Now you can imagine a Gujarati lady who is so used to a sweetness within her food taste is in Chennai Mental Hospital. Treatment may be great, the setup may be excellent, mind-boggling, nothing. But essentially it is a Gujarati elderly conservative lady who is in Institute of Mental Health Chennai for innumerable years, and the husband and the son is looking out for her. There is a huge, this is our social worker, he's the project coordinator. There are at least 5,000 people who had gathered over there. 5,000 people. Doctor Saab ki maa mil gayi, Doctor Saab ki maa mil gayi. That takes the thing forward. This is somebody whom I happened to pick up on the road personally. Friend of mine gave me a call and she said somebody is below my building. So it was night time. We just put him into the car. He came readily. He turned out to be from Iran. This is the gentleman. Now, we didn't know the language. We had no idea what was going on. We couldn't understand his language. Me and my wife, with our own little this thing, he wrote down his name. He wrote down the phone number. And finally, what we did, we had an Urdu speaking guy with us. And we started telling him all the countries one by one, wherein Urdu is a dominating language or Arabic is a dominating language. And when we spoke Iran, his eyes flashed up. That's when we realized that he's from Iran. Finally, then we contacted the Iranian embassy. This is again him writing down multiple things, his sister's name, his wife's name, his children. And that thing is that, look, I want to go back, and he cannot communicate. He doesn't know good English. He doesn't know Hindi at all. He doesn't know any language, but still you are communicating. Finally, we approached the Iranian embassy. The Iranian embassy helped out. They gave us a letter for this thing. And finally, the father was traced out. The father was from rural Iran. He could not come down to Bombay for this. And the Iranian embassy, along with this, made it out as if he was being deported and finally sent him back to Iran. It was a wonderful experience. And we got cooperation all around, because you have to contact the police, which is involved, the Iranian embassy, everything. This is his passport, which they gave temporarily for shifting him out. In fact, it is written here, valid only for 20 days and only for returning to Iran. Andhra Pradesh has been very kind to me. We have had multiple coverages in Telugu newspapers. This is our social workers' earliest good old days in 1998. In fact, it is written here. This is in 2012, Karimnagar. This is a Telugu social worker of ours. This lady is the mother of a politician. This lady is the mother of a politician. I don't know who the politician in this. She had been missing for multiple years. The moment our social workers got down, somebody recognized this lady and they said, "Arey, she's the mother of that politician." Finally, that the whole crowd started moving. 500 people following that whole social worker and the team going to that person's house. When they entered, these people had given her up for dead. She was picked up from an NGO. You won't believe the actual politician in typical cultural traditional style washed the feet of his mother and actually drank that water. It was such a moving thing. And because it was a female, this is the Telugu social worker who was involved, and we had sent 2 other social support staff. That politician got so moved, he in an envelope he put money and he gave to all the 3 of them. It turned out that all of them had received 15,000 rupees. So that joy and that thing, that look, in fact, he was the president of some district committee. I forget the district, but he was there. This is, of course, Inadu, which gave us multiple coverages post the Raymond Magsaysay Award. We did have at one point of time a center in Hyderabad, which somehow didn't work out. I mean, the psychiatrists associated were somehow, we didn't click. This is the gentleman who had helped out. He's Arjun Reddy. He's the head of Value Labs in Hyderabad. And one day what happened was that he found a patient who was in Hyderabad wandering on the road. He traced out on email, contacted us and told us to pick up the patient. So I talked to his main person. I said, so look here, I don't mind sending the ambulance. I take it for granted you're paying for the ambulance and everything. But do you think it is worth it just to come for one patient? What happens if we pick up 10 patients from Hyderabad? Will you agree to sponsor all those 10 patients? And believe it or not, he agreed. So we started having a regular team. Every month we would go to Hyderabad, pick up 10 patients, bring them, and the Value Labs would fund the entire thing right from beginning to end. Then we went one step further. I met Arjun Reddy. I said, why not start an ancillary center in Hyderabad? As is the norm, we got the license under another psychiatrist. But again, somehow things didn't work out. I mean, the care was not as good as what would be expected. But that is life. Finally, we shut down the center. But had that thing really kicked off, just as I'm hoping that Uday Kumar's NGO really kicks off. I mean, this guy in Value Labs had actually shown me another plot in Pune and Hinjewadi and said that, look, we'll start one more center over here. And he said that if this one single center of ours clicks, we will have multiple centers all over India. That much was his commitment and that much was his dedication. Till today, this gentleman is sending 2 lakhs rupees a month, every month, without fail. That is the level of commitment which we got from a lay person of society. But unfortunately, I mean, the team which gathered over there, we couldn't get the right response. I don't wish to say anything, but we couldn't get the right response, and at the end of the day, things collapsed. This is again Andhra Pradesh, recent coverage. Now coming to hurdles faced post the reunion trips. After they have been reunited, we are sending the medicines to their hometowns. Supervision of medicines, sending of medicines become difficult. Actual time between the gap with the relative request for refill of medicine and you're couriering them is one hell of a thing. On the last day, he sends you an email or a WhatsApp message, medicines are over, please send. It takes 1 week for the medicines to go. Now, if the relative wants to continue medication on his own, the tragedy is that legally medicines are not easily available in the medical shops. As per current regulations, medicines are not available without prescriptions. So you send him another prescription, hopefully he gets it, or the relative does not have the money to purchase the medicine. Relative doesn't have the money to go to a district psychiatrist. And psychiatric facilities are absent in the nearby areas of the patient's hometown or village. Sometimes the caregivers themselves are too old to supervise medicines. We don't know. Now we are sending Risnia 2mg TDS or BD. We don't know the long-term side effects of medicines. We're not actually supervising them. So corresponding reduction of medicines which we routinely do in private practices somehow doesn't happen or happens on an ad hoc basis. The children of the recovered destitute are often mocked by peers that, look, your mother is mentally unwell, your father is mentally unwell. And often, this is a very sad part of the whole thing, often the relative stops the medication. And as we all know, once you stop the medication, often for 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, the patient is absolutely all right until he relapses and until he again leaves the house. So the story starts all over again. This is very common. I guess this is very common in private practice as well as in the NGO work. Again, the only takeaway from all these patients disappearing from the villages again is that the villagers start questioning each other as to why did this person leave? And the answer is he left because the medicines were stopped. So that is a kind of shout out for the continuity of psychiatric medicines, and the fact that psychiatric illness is treatable and amenable to treatment. As I said, we started off with Chennai first. We are collaborating. Then we had Ahmedabad Mental Hospital, Bhuj Mental Hospital. And child development, she wrote a letter saying that we should be allowed to interact with all the mental hospitals all over India. To some extent, that worked. The Ministry of Women and Child Development gave a letter saying that we should be allowed to interact. And in 2019, just before COVID, we had 14 institutes with whom we were interacting. Right from the mental hospital in Shimla. In Tejpur Mental Hospital, we have developed a brilliant rapport with the person in charge. Brilliant. I mean, she has to contact us. She will reach out. She helps out in every way possible in Assami reunion trips in Assam. We have had excellent, outstanding interactions with ECRC in Villipuram and Vellore. In fact, just 2 weeks back, we got 10 patients from Villipuram. Their staff came all the way to Karjat to send this thing. Again, as far as police stations go, in 2010, we had only 2 police stations. But in 2019, we had 51 police stations who had referred patients to us. 51 police stations referring to you cases with an official police letter and currently doing an actual RT-PCR test and sending you the negative report. It goes to show how far the police personnel have got. All that they do is they send the photo on the WhatsApp. My staff decides whether it's okay or not. We give the green signal. They get the RT-PCR report and the patient along with the official letters in our center. And then we send them back. As Ramakrishnan said, we send them back the entire acknowledgement with the official documents of the relative having taken it. Now the law states that every officer in charge of a police station should take under protection any person found wandering at large in the limits of the police station. This has just been introduced in the 2017 Mental Health Act, and I believe it is wonderful for us, all of us, because ultimately if a police person can make a judgment of the fact that the person wandering on the road has got mental illness and an FIR should be lodged, I mean, that takes a whole lot of load out of us. And the current Mental Health Act states that persons with mental illness who are destitute, homeless, living below the poverty line, whether or not in possession of a BPL card, shall be entitled to mental health services free of charge, in all mental health institutions, establishments run or funded by the government or in mental health establishment designated by it. Now, all that we need to do is get a license under the State Mental Health Act, which, I mean, taking into consideration, we are all in the same fraternity, is not exactly very difficult, and the state mental health authorities invariably tend to support these activities. That has been my general observation. But once that is done, then as per the law, persons with mental illness who are destitute, homeless, living below the poverty line have to be entitled to these mental health services free of charge. So this is a big booster for us. And the mental health services should be of affordable cost, of good quality, which all of us are always trying to provide, available in sufficient quantity, accessible geographically, without discrimination on the basis of gender, sex, religion, culture, caste, etc., etc., etc. This, I believe, solves a lot of problem for us so far as establishing mental health establishments for the wandering mentally ill. Now you look at the NGOs with whom we are interacting. Like I said, with Mother Teresa, so many other NGOs are there. Again, in 2010, we were interacting only with one. Gradually, the thing went on till 2018 with 22 NGOs. Now, after the award, in 2019, we were interacting with 43 NGOs. And in these 43 NGOs, we picked up 665 destitutes. Now, you just see this. In 2019, we reunited 1,114 destitutes with their families. Out of them, 665 destitutes were picked up from different NGOs. Why? Because first of all, the NGO realizes that the wandering mentally ill can be treated. We are communicating to the NGO that, look, this is a treatable entity. These are the photos after reunion, etc., etc., etc. That NGO is communicating within its community that, look, this is a treatable entity. That's how the sphere of awareness goes on increasing. Of course, it has an added advantages for us because NGOs invariably, if nothing else, they tend to feed the person. So the general health of the person improves. To some degree, the wounds may become lesser. At least in Missionaries of Charity, they do a phenomenal job of treating wounds, etc. Out of this world job. So you have patients who are medically a little bit better. You're able to immediately start the actual psychiatric treatment and start the ballings. So the cycle of turnover, the turnover cycle becomes much more faster. And naturally, with all these NGOs, the level of awareness takes a different level altogether. Right now, believe me, in today's times, we have got at least nothing less than 50 patients who are waiting in different NGOs to be taken by us. As they say, the patients are literally in queue. All the 10 patients have to go from Karjat and the next 10 will be given. We just recently went to Chennai, picked up from Anbagam some patients, picked up from this ECI Velipuram some patients. Now at that time, Chennai Mental Hospital had already sent me a mail, please help and please come forward. So we took it to the next time. We have already identified 8 patients in Chennai Mental Hospital. Our staff has gone there and chosen the patients. Our staff has gone to Gujarat NGO and chosen the patients. Our staff has gone to Apna Ghar in Jodhpur and already chosen the patients. So you have a whole line of patients who just need a little bit more of fine tuning of the medicines, and the overall speed tends to increase. And our forte, which is that our staff is excellent in tracing out the antecedents of the patient, is utilized to the maximum. This is, of course, like I said, various colleges tend to come forward and various students come forward. This is a huge awareness exercise in itself. I mean, I would recommend, I'm definite, Ramakrishna also must be having college students who are coming over. These are all various students who have come, and at least in and around the Karjat area, you have auto rickshaw drivers who see a wandering mentally ill, they directly pick up the person in the auto rickshaw and bring him to our home. This is the entire Thane district. It's a huge district which is, students from various colleges have come together for this program. We have done a street play on mental illness in Karjat area. They had a morcha also, a kind of a uprising, saying that awareness should be there about mental illness. This is one of the earliest patients that we had picked up. This is the father, this is the grandfather. He was ready to give an interview when we received the Raymond Magsaysay Award. He said, I don't mind my photograph being put into the papers. This guy is right now a builder. He has a Toyota Fortuner. And when I picked him up from Missionaries of Charity, he was in horrible shape, horrible. He had a broken bone in the thigh, malunited, unbelievable. Again, a brilliant emotional moment. In those days, I didn't have a social worker. I had a motorcycle of my own. I took the motorcycle. He was at Pune. 20 kilometers before his house, everybody says, Gangadhar Tithe Rate. That is where he stays. Until I came across his parents. That moment onwards, I mean, that family, the mother kept on sending me Rakhis for the Raksha Bandhan day. This boy actually traced me out later on when the Karjat project was started, and he said, do you want anything? I said, I wouldn't mind having an ambulance. I need a small ambulance. He actually donated an ambulance. Look at the brilliance of the guy. He actually donated a small Maruti ambulance. And he keeps coming to Karjat. Literally for any interview wherein the person says, can you get me a patient who wouldn't mind facing the camera? This guy turns up. He was there for the Amazing Indians coverage also. And these people came in the traditional Maharashtrian style, put a shawl around me, brought a coconut, gave me sweets. This is the father and the grandfather. This is, of course, the Time magazine coverage which had happened. And this is the Guardian which had covered us up in their activities. I think this is literally the last slide. This is a brilliant collaboration. Sadhna Thakur is the wife of the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh. She saw a patient in her district. Being the wife, she was able to shift that patient to Himachal Hospital for Mental Health and Rehabilitation in Shimla, the official government hospital. Our staff went there, chose the patient, brought her to Maharashtra, Karjat. She was a tribal. She was a Maharashtrian. 25 years had passed since she was missing from the house. 25 years. She had 3 children. This is one of her children. This is the patient. And the reunion took place on the auspicious day of Christmas. And in that house, you find the written, Jesus loves you. This, I mean, there could not have been anything better. This is our social worker. This is our social worker. So you have somebody who's wandering in a district in Shimla, in Himachal Pradesh, sorry, not even in Shimla, in Himachal Pradesh. That patient has a cycle, comes to Shimla. Because we are collaborating with Shimla Mental Hospital, that patient is brought to Maharashtra. Because we have the social workers who are able to communicate in that tribal language, whatever, the patient is reunited. And this is the husband, and this is the child. That sums up the reason why we are doing what we are doing. I mean, after that COVID struck, otherwise I was supposed to go down to Shimla, meet up with the mental hospital superintendent, and the chief minister had said he would drop in, etc., etc. So we need more hospitals. We need more NGOs. We need more centers. Above all, we need more involvement of psychiatrists. We need better networking with NGO centers, mental hospitals, housing districts, and we need awareness of mental health and its treatability throughout the nation. That will take us forward. As you can see, this is a statewide reunion. We started keeping a record once Karjat had happened. In 2019, we did a this of 1,114. In 2020, we could do only 309. In 2021, we have done only 217. But over the years, it has gone on increasing from what started as 47 in the first year. I mean, you know, I remember somebody had asked me emotionally that, what is your objective? And I told him that, look, if we can reunite one patient every alternate day, that would be nirvana. That would be a dream come true. I mean, forget one patient every alternate day. Our social worker team has been able to reunite 3 patients on every day of the calendar year. This is 1,114. That's, I mean, big kudos to the social worker team. I cannot tell you how much difference it makes. I mean, I'm literally sitting back. I'm sitting back and just watching the show happening. And unfortunately, I'm the guy getting the accolades. But to end on a more grim note, this boy, recently, after me having got the Raymond Magsaysay Award, he must have become 20, 25, whatever. This boy sent me a mail saying that my father is missing for the last 15 years. And this is the last photo I have of the family. Can you help me in tracing out my father? Oh boy, what a knockout. What a knockout. I mean, just that thought, you know, that son could actually write a letter to us and tell us, ask us, request us that, can you find out my father? And you know that you have done nothing. You have done nothing. 9,000 is nothing. This guy is still missing. Till today, we have not been able to trace out. And this boy is still holding on to hope. This boy is still holding on to hope, in the hope that some NGO, some psychiatrist, some good soul, some good Samaritan finds his father and brings him. Oh boy, what a loss of life. And this is repeated. This is repeated. This keeps us grounded that you have done nothing. You have actually achieved nothing. We had a guy in Madhya Pradesh. Who was missing. We had a patient with us who was from Madhya Pradesh. We went to the Madhya Pradesh district. Our social worker contacted the police. The police flashed out the photo on the entire Madhya Pradesh police sites. 12 parents whose children were missing and who were lost because of mental illness came and saw the patient that we had brought and said that, no, this is unfortunately not my son. The last one amongst them actually came when the train was about to leave the platform and came rushing, knowing that the train will leave, and checked out, but it was not their son. Such is life. Luckily, the parents of that boy was traced out. They were in Nagpur hunting for that child. That is the emotion that takes you forward. And those are the emotions which make you believe that whatever we have done, whatever we are doing is inadequate. It is a utopian dream. I'm expecting today that the task force for this homeless mentally ill will work upon this project of Uday Kumar and make it into a kind of a solid foundation, a solid takeaway for the rest of entire Andhra Pradesh and for the rest of India to look up to. That is where things have to come to place. It is not just one Shraddha which is required. It is not just one psychiatrist. Many psychiatrists, many social workers, Many people have to reunite, have to come together to solve this problem. And it is left up to us. We are the educated people. We are the literal people. We are the professional people. We are the psychiatrists. If we don't understand their pain, nobody else will. Nobody else will. The society will continue to treat its wandering mentally ill in a neglected, rejected, and shunned way. Thank you.